On August 6th, 1945, the little boy atomic bomb was dropped on the Japanese city of Hiroshima, killing approximately 120,000 people, 100,000 of which were civilians. The devastating power of splitting the atom was now on full display for the world to see. This was the beginning of the nuclear age.
Correspondents at Air Headquarters on Guam, including CBS's Webley Edwards, though they could not attribute it to any specific source, were allowed to say there is reason to believe that the Japanese city of Hiroshima, approximately the size of Memphis or Seattle or Rochester, New York, no longer exists.
Due to the massively destructive impact nuclear power could potentially have on a society, an agency needed to be formed for the regulation of this new power. Enter the IAEA, otherwise known as the International Atomic Energy Agency, is an international agency based on the regulation of nuclear energy. As we moved past the Cold War era and entered the late 20th century, it became clear as day that the IAEA was more effective at managing the world when it wasn't at war. The IAEA has proven itself to be ineffective during wartime but vital during peacetime. The IAEA has its roots in the Cold War. In December 1953, U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower addressed the UN General Assembly, seeking to establish an international organization to combat the violent use of nuclear energy. This resulted in the formation of the International Atomic Energy Agency, or the IAEA, in 1975. The purpose of the IAEA was to promote the use of peaceful nuclear power while limiting the spread of nuclear weapons. Since its formation, 174 nations have been part of the IAEA. However, there are currently only 173 member nations. This is because the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK, also known as North Korea, withdrew its membership from the organization 20 years after initially joining in 1974. Raphael Marino Grassy is the current Director General of the IAEA. He served in many other diplomatic positions both in and outside the IAEA before climbing to the role of Director General. In the IAEA, he has previously served as the Assistant Director General, Chief of Cabinet, Ambassador of Argentina, and Argentine Representative. Grassy then assumed office as the Director General on the 3rd of December 2019. Grassy also served as representative in many other groups, such as the President-designate of the 2020 Review Conference of the Parties to the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, and the President of the Nuclear Suppliers Group. He has also presided over the 2015 Diplomatic Conference on the Convention of Nuclear Safety. As the director of the IAEA, Grassy is responsible for much of the actions that the organization takes. He takes part in deciding which projects are important for the IAEA to pursue. Additionally, he is the diplomatic head for the organization, which becomes crucial when major world affairs are involved. His word has significant weight on the actions that others could take, and can make or break the success of an operation.
Peacetime actions of the IAEA. During peacetime, the IAEA is extremely effective in using nuclear technology for the benefit of all. This can be seen in many facets of modern technology, one example of which is in medicine. When African swine fever broke out in 2018 among Chinese swine, it killed over a quarter of the world's domestic swine population. The loss of swine has caused China over the equivalent of $141 billion in losses, and many other countries have also suffered severe losses through the outbreak. To combat this, the IAEA has been collaborating with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, and many countries, Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Mongolia, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam, to combat this since 2012. These groups are working on training people to use real-time PCR in order to detect and combat African swine fever. Real-time PCR is a nuclear-derived testing method that rapidly amplifies DNA to detect pathogens. Due to the nuclear nature of real-time PCR, it is something that the IAEA has qualifications to easily assist others in using effectively. The method isn't only good against African swine fever, though, and has also been used against Ebola, Zika, MERS, and SARS to great effect. It has even been used very recently to combat the spread of coronavirus, as the rapid testing speed is vital in limiting the spread of the virus, which also spreads quickly The test method can even be used to detect the severity of an infection within a person, as somebody with a more severe infection will produce a positive test faster than one with a mild sickness. Another main example of the IAEA's abilities of helping nations with nuclear technologies during peacetime is the ability to effectively prepare its member nations for the creation of nuclear power plants. This can be seen relatively easily by simply looking at the number of power plants in the world after the IAEA's formation, which generally grows as the IAEA has been around for longer. A more specific example of this partnership between the IAEA and member nations can be seen in China and its development of nuclear power plants. China did not join the IAEA until 1984, almost 3 decades after the initial formation of the organization and 4 from the beginning of use of nuclear technology in the world. During this time, China had not created any nuclear power plants of their own, despite plenty of them springing up in other places around the world. However, after joining the IAEA, China immediately began construction on a power plant the following year. With the guidance and support of the IAEA, China was able to build multiple nuclear power plants shortly thereafter, and now currently holds the 3rd greatest number of nuclear power plants by country, with 51 operational ones today, only falling behind France, 56, and the United States, 91. The IAEA's extensive abilities during peace even extends to the ocean pollution crisis during the late 20th and through the 21st centuries. The proprietary technology of new plastics, nuclear technology for controlling plastic pollution, has allowed the IAEA to locate and recycle plastics. The IAEA's approach to plastic pollution employs 2 strategies: 1, to provide science-based evidence to characterize and assess marine microplastic evolution, and 2, demonstrate the use of ionizing radiation to increase the volume recycled of plastic and transform more plastic waste into reusable resources. Using these technologies, plastic particles can be classified and analyzed to understand and try to limit the power of pollution in our oceans, helping everybody.
Wartime ineffectiveness. While effective in using nuclear power for benefit during peacetime, the same cannot be said about the organization's ability during war. Instead, the organization is ground to a halt, and any attempts that they may make in maintaining safety immediately collapse. In the wake of the initial invasion of Ukraine by Russia on the 24th of February 2022, Director General Grassy has begun making general statements and regular updates. He stressed the importance of maximum restraint from Russia in Ukraine to avoid any action that could jeopardize plant safety, a statement that would go unheard by the Russian government. One of the first acts of the Russian Federation at the beginning of the war was to take control of Chernobyl, the site of a catastrophic nuclear meltdown. As a result of the meltdown decades ago, the area remains a major nuclear hazard. Immediately after entry, Director General Grassy stressed the importance of maintaining careful safety procedures during the takeover. This was ignored, and Russian troops risked causing nuclear damage multiple times. Dust was stirred up on numerous occasions by troop movements, sharply raising the nuclear readings of the area and causing damage to those nearby. Additionally, fires began in Chernobyl during the occupation, which has caused much concern due to the massive risk that a fire would pose. Russia has further risked nuclear safety by attacking Zaporizhzhia, a currently operational nuclear power plant in Ukraine and the largest one in Europe. On the 4th of March 2022, the IAEA announced that Russian forces had attacked the plant. Grassy requested the discontinuance of any force in the area due to the risks of nuclear damage. Russia ignored these warnings and continued to attack Zaporizhzhia by firing grenades and artillery shells at it. 3 out of 5 power lines to Zaporizhzhia had been damaged by Russian troops at one point, a severe liability to the safety of the plant. When interviewed about the war in late March 2022, Grassy was asked about the nuclear safety situation of Ukraine. Grassy responded that he was, quote, not comfortable, saying, the situation is not sustainable like this. We have already had close calls, referring to both the occupation of Chernobyl and the attack on the power lines and buildings of Zaporizhzhia. This event has shown that the IAEA is incapable of making a significant impact during the tides of war, as it will be simply ignored by governments without any consequences on them. Even given multiple opportunities to intervene between each attack, the IAEA is incapable of stopping war and maintaining safety and efficiency. To their credit, since the formation of the IAEA, no nuclear weapons have been used in war.
While the IAEA began with ideals of preventing nuclear warfare and controlling the atom, it has been ineffective during wartime due to the lack of ability to truly impact the state of war. It has been useless in impacting the Russo-Ukrainian War, and the warnings that the organization has issued against attacking areas of high nuclear density have gone ignored. Despite this, the IAEA has found its place during peacetime due to strong ability to work together with governments to ensure the safety during daily life, causing international cooperation to study and control the spread of diseases. Overall, the IAEA, despite its shortcomings during war, is helping to work us towards a better future.